morning. Depends on where you're coming from. Thank you for coming through. Jared Leto. Let's see. We're coming to you live today. Thank you for coming on. I gotta decide which topic I want to talk about today. We're gonna have to talk about it. Hold on. Let me see something quick. Okay, we're working on something real quick. What's happening? What's happening? How you doing? Thank you for coming through. Just starting out right now. I'm sending all information. So what's up? How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. We just getting started. Thank you for coming through today. We're just getting started. If you're coming on, feel free to say something. And please hit that like up if you're coming through. We're just getting started, putting everything out here. Hope everybody's going good. Talking about Coco McGuff, Coco Gruff, and will she have a Serena Williams type of run? It's gonna be interesting because that's a lot of work you got to put in to have a Serena Williams kind of career. But we're gonna see what's up. here early today to see what we got. What we got here? How you doing? How you feeling? Thank you for coming through. And tell me where you coming from. Glad to have you coming through this day. Glad to have you. If you're coming in here, please tell me where you're coming from. Hit that like, and if you like the poll question or you don't, let me know. That was a pretty big day for Coco yesterday, so let's talk about it. Pretty significant. We're gonna talk about Coco. So anyway, glad to have you coming through today. There's a lot going on. Could have talked about the NBA Finals, and I still might, but I got plenty of time to talk about that. But anyway, let's get into this. They better, but more importantly, they better win. They should have won by 30 the other night, but they got a little sidetracked. Hold on, let me make an adjustment. Don't move. You say 30, that's a pretty high expectations. I tell you, I don't know if they can do that. They got their work cut off for them, though. Indiana is a different kind of team. I've done videos where I've said that the Pacers is the most dangerous team I've seen, and I don't use that term lightly and loosely. I haven't really said it about another team in years, if I'm honest. I didn't look at Denver as dangerous. I thought Jokic, with his talent, it was fixed, fixed, fake. Because it looks like Adam Silver told LeBron, "We'll give you this if you do this." That's what it looks like. I mean, come on now. And the Mavericks were a playing tournament team from being an eighth seed, so it's not like they exactly needed that. They're not New Orleans pathetic. Now, if they were New Orleans, okay. Then again, I understand why you don't give New Orleans nothing because Zion don't play, and it's embarrassing. Yeah, that mess was fixed. I mean, people going back 40 years ago who thought about Patrick Ewing and the Knicks, it was deja vu over again. But this was because Anthony Davis, if he plays and he stays healthy, y'all can do something. But there's too many caveats there. I mean, and then you got to worry about Kyrie Irving, who's banged up and he's half banged. At most, he's got about 3 years in the tank, at most. 3 to 5 or 3 years of top. That's it. His wheels is coming in, and Clay is done. Clay is washed. Clay might be good for a couple of halves. You get 25 good games out of Clay, that's a W. That's all you're gonna get out of Clay. Clay's done. So they need to make some moves, you know. But I understand why they got rid of. I understand why they got rid of Luca though. He didn't want to get in shape. He didn't want to play the way, and he didn't want to make no defense. He didn't make no adjustments. So I get it. I get it. But yeah, that mess was fixed though. Anyway, keep on talking. I'm glad that people coming through today. The 30-point win tonight. That's gonna be interesting. Well, because he's a diva, and it's funny because the more and more I see him, the more I see James Harden, and then I see what Jalen Brunson was like, and I thought, oh, these ball hogging guards. who hold the ball for 16 seconds of a 24-second clock. Well, he couldn't play no defense because Jalen Brown was picking his pockets. He too slow. And I saw it again with the Lakers in the season when Jalen picked his pocket clean. If he got to put the ball on the floor and he can't sit there and whirl a turn between his legs and fade and shoot those high arching shots, he's gonna have problems. Because teams that can size him up at the top of the key and make him put the ball and make him have to work, and he can't hit all them fadeaways, there ain't much to his game. He holds the ball too long. He doesn't repost, and he hoping he gets called. If as long as the system is there for him, if your system is there for him, then yes. And what I mean by that is it depends on how if they get him played in accordance with Jason Kidd, everything is sized up, then yeah, he got a chance to be good. But again, I don't know what your system is going to be like. And I don't know what the surrounding cast is going to be like. Because you got to remember something. You got nothing but broken parts. You know Clay's broken down, Kyrie broken down, and AD's broken down. So Cooper Flag could basically have to be a repairman. He basically gonna have to be Cooper Flag's auto repair body shop because that team is broke down. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Thank you for coming through. Samuel West, the West Style goes to thank you. When I watch these guys play, that's the problem I see with the Mavericks. If you're a Mavericks fan, you just gotta wonder who's gonna be healthy, who's gonna play. You don't really have uh because it's a very interesting puzzle. This is probably the Mavericks' most compelling season. It's gonna make or break them the next 2 3 years. So we're gonna see how it turn out. If you're AD, that ain't gonna save him. Or what you got? What you got? An old man grandpa party? Come on now, him, AD, Kyrie. That's not good. Clay, come on now. The guys can't even stay healthy. And who wants a center in 2025? That's not gonna save Phoenix. Unless they trade Devin Booker and they get some picks. And if I trade Devin Booker, I trade him to Orlando and get some picks. I trade him somewhere where I could get something more, or Charlotte Horn. I go somewhere I could trade him and get some picks, get some people. You got to make some moves. So I heard about KD talking about San Antonio. I'm like, him and Victor Wemby and De'Aaron Fox. I'm not feeling much with that. I'm not expecting much. Suns got to unload the whole team. Even Bradley Beal, you got to go. Stealing people's money. He got not. There's nothing out there, and you'd have to give him too much to get him, and you trade him to where, and you'd have to get about crazy parts. He's staying for now, but that don't mean he ain't gonna want to go. But he really must be buying into what Doc Rivers is saying. I don't see it though. I can't see it. I don't have no expectations for Milwaukee, so if you're a Bucks fan, I'm sorry. It's gonna be a long season, and we ain't even got to next year yet. So people not gonna see Coco Griff having. It's gonna be tough. She good, but to be Serena, you got to be beast and a half. It's a different era. She could be. I've been hearing about for the last couple of years, so we'll see. But I was impressed with her W yesterday, though. So okay, I don't think so either. Serena was one of the most dominant athletes I've seen in the last 25 years. I'm surprised Tom Brady didn't have her on his goats. Mount Rushmore. Yeah, she changed the course. She changed the course, and it's a tough sport to dominate. It really is, men's or women's. But the men's was a trip because Federer was bad. Then you got Nadal. Then you got Jokic. That was crazy. So I think I'll do that one though. Serena's gonna be tough though. You always gonna be compared to Serena though. That's just how it goes. All right. Thank you for people coming through so far today. We are live on this Sunday. Hope everybody's having a good day. A lot of stuff going on. People got weekend plans. NBA Finals tonight. Oh, excuse me. Just had to let that out real quick. It's okay. Checking out stuff real quick. Got some people coming through, so feel free. That's too early to say. I mean, um, I'm a Buffalo Bills fan, so I'm always thinking the Bills got a chance. I'd say right now, tentatively, Buffalo and Detroit. I gotta believe that the Lions got a chance to go. Gotta believe that they gotta go, because if they don't go next year, it ain't gonna happen. And then I gotta believe that's not gonna happen. Y'all not better than Philadelphia. Y'all not better than Washington. You tripping? I gotta no, no. Third best team in the NFC East. You ain't better than Philly. You ain't better than Washington. You ain't gonna be better than the Rams, who are gonna be interesting. I think the Rams are the sleeper team. You ain't gonna be better than Minnesota, Green Bay, Detroit. So no, no. I know you made that pickup with whatchamacallit from Pittsburgh, but that ain't gonna save you. You know who your quarterback is. I ain't gotta say no names. He tends to choke and gag, so I'm not expecting nothing. You just resign, no, but I'm not buying the Cowboys though. I'm not buying them. He's cut different than CJ, and the reason why is because he won a lot of clutch games. CJ is actually more poised, style wise. Jaden Daniels showed some maturity that was he didn't lose that game against Philly. They just didn't have the talent to match up against Philly. That's all. He didn't lose that game. He played pretty good. They turned the ball over and their defense sucked. I think Jaden Daniels got some Doug Williams type tendencies. I think he's gonna be fine. CJ didn't play that bad. He still lost in the second round this year. He still made the playoffs. So how's that a down year? Now, granted, they could only score 20 points, and they had some offensive inabilities, which was great. But I got something to do with coaching to go along with them. I'm not gonna put it all on CJ. And even if Gene Daniels does come down to earth, y'all not better than Philadelphia. He missed some opportunities. I'll give you that. I watched their games, and him and Stephon Diggs, they was some missed opportunities. They had that game against Detroit. How did they lose that game? I'll never know. At home, they had some bad losses, or they had some games where they didn't. Yeah, and a lot of it was just basic situations where it was bad reads, and some of it was the coaching's calls. They just had some bad situations, but they still made the second round. And so, how bad is it if you still 2 rounds deep in the playoffs that you can still win a playoff game? So I can't again, you know. And plus, he plays in an old soft division, so that's not fair comparison. Somebody got to win the AFC South. That's embarrassing. So, but yeah, but I think Jaden Daniels gonna be alright though. They got Debo. They gonna be a little bit of a better team. They win clutch games. They're gonna play close to the vest. I think they're gonna be the second best team in the division. Gonna be them in Philadelphia battling out for top two seeds. Please hit the like up. Please, feel free conversation. Let's get it. I'll be here for a little while. Just in here for a minute. See what we got. Yes, I did. How'd you know? Even though it's just, yeah, I dress like this regular anyway. Just a regular because I wear. But yeah, I did. That's interesting. I don't know if it looks like church clothes because this is how I normally dress anyway. I'm looking at the weather though. Cowboys fan, Dallas Maverick fan. Gotta be a Texas Rangers fan too, huh? You gotta give me a 3-1 if you're a Texas Ranger. They are actually in third place in the AL West or second, fourth place. I forgot. I'm a Yankees fan, so and y'all suck. You did come back and beat the Yankees though yesterday, and you do got some pop in your lineup, but y'all not that good though. I'm not worried about y'all. Y'all not that good. I'm not impressed right now as a Yankee fan. No way. I don't care about no stats. Got to figure out a way to beat the Dodgers. That ain't gonna happen. Hopefully, you don't have to play the Astros to get to the show. I don't know. Yeah. The American League Central is the best division in baseball. Man, I'll give you that. Minnesota, Cleveland, those teams are bum. I already know. I already know. I'm not arguing with you. I'm not one of those delusional fans about my teams. You know, Because I'll speak the truth before someone else will. They don't have enough depth. And they got ran out the building last week. Shohei tore their behind up. Aaron Judge went tore their butt up. Was like 26-7 out the first two games, and they did win the third game, but it was like football scores. I mean, like you can't beat no Dodgers playing like that. Tear your behind up. You don't. You got to keep them in the park. You can't play them like that. Even if though Giancarlo Stanton and getting Corey Bellinger, that's not enough to beat the Dodgers. They don't. Freddie Freeman out here having like we're back to the future, and Freddie Freeman is going off, and Atani's arguably the best player in the game, and Mookie Betts is. I mean, they just got they stacked. Oh, of course, but that don't mean nothing to me though. Unless he makes it count postseason, I'm not impressed because he's giving me more Alex Rodriguez than he is Derek Jeter. So that's the things that you got to do. So I'm not in no delusion about him. Yep, made me mad last year too. Got up there and it went to game three. He woke up and hit a meaningless home run. I'm like, come on, man. That's why Juan Soto left because he saw the writing on the wall. You know, he's stinking it up with the Mets right now. He saw the writing on the wall. So yeah, you know, you can't teach clutch. So that's all I'm about. And they ain't won since 2009. So they on the clock. Been only one World Series in 15 years, 16 years. So they got their work cut out for them. And they got a guy who could be considered one of the best ever, but I don't think he can catch up to his. You know, he has to do some stuff for World Series. And we'll see. It was a low ball offer. Excuse me. But the problem with a guy like Soto, he's a true free agent of today. He kind of picks a spot and bounces. Because think about it, the guy didn't play for four different teams in 10 years. So those cats are normal today. But the Mets are in first place, so we'll see how it turns out. Well, it's hard to turn it down, but he got the ring when he was a kid too. So and he's been to two World Series, so I get it. I'm not even gonna argue against in his case. He won a ring when he was with Washington as a puppy, and then he went to the World Series last year with the Yankees, and he played pretty good. It's just that he didn't really like Aaron Boone, and I don't think the Yankees had anything to offer because Garrett Cole is older and he's hurt, and Giancarlo Stanton is older and he's hurt, and Aaron Judge is not that quite that kind of cat that you can ride the shoulders. They don't really have a lot of that. They need nickel and dime, get on the base guys that make things happen. So I get why he left. I'm glad he didn't go to the Dodgers though, because then they you just throw them the rings. Because the owner is the junior version of Steinbrenner. It ain't the pops, and Brian Cashman and them don't really see anything else out there. And they're good enough to win the division title. They're good enough to what they got. It's just that if you tempt fate, he might be gone after this year. I don't know. But I agree with you. In a past life, he'd have been five times over. But they've settled for what they've settled for. And for as long as the money's good, they don't have anything to lose. So sometimes you may have a videotape on somebody. You never know. That's my old famous words. May have something on somebody because that's the only reason why the cats still keep a gig. So I don't know. Educated guess, but is it that far fetched? Not necessarily. You know, cats be in a compromised position. You never know. So anyway, let's see what we got. So keep it going. Please keep hitting the like, subscribe, so we're working with, and we'll go from there. As long as I'm getting conversation, I won't. I'll stay on. I know it's Sunday, and again, notifications didn't go out till later, so. And eventually, I'll put this on my podcast. I'll probably do a couple about a week or two. It's they're trying to make it into a bird magic thing. I think that this is the thing. They're both good players in different trajectories. Can't say nothing until one wins something. But Angel Reese won already in college. She should get her due. She is the way she is. Caitlin Clark is being anointed, and she's a good player. But again, I don't see where there's so much like beyond the how they're pushing it racially and how they're pushing the genders. If I go strictly on the court, they both have had things that they can do. Neither one of them is quite dominate the league, but the league needs that type of black and white thing that's an agenda. So it's a media thing to push it. Like them both, but in different ways. I think Angel Reese's spirit and her vibe, I like that. Caitlin Clark, she can shoot and she's a really good player. But again, you both need time and you need fundamentals. And, it's one of those things. Let's ask ourselves for 5 years from now. That's all. So that's what's up. Yep, divide and conquer. Okay, let's get some conversation going. See what we got. And please hit the likes up. And let's get it going. Let's get it going. Okay. See what we got real quick. It's gotten pretty quiet again. Okay. If anybody's still there, let me know. If it starts to get slow, I'll call it a day in about a few minutes because I have to see if people are gonna be on. see what we're working with. It got real quiet, so like I said, I'll give it a few more minutes. I know that I came on kind of late on a Sunday, so it's Sunday. People got stuff they're doing, so I get it. So we will see what we're doing. It is definitely a divide and conquer. And then WNBA, it's got some interesting players, but they definitely want this black cop, white cop agenda. That's what they do. And they long for that. Yeah, we just kind of in chill mode. Anyway, if I don't see anything coming in the next couple minutes, I'll call it a day. I understand, like I said, and I'll be back tomorrow. The plan is to come on tomorrow. I'm sure after game two, there'll be more people coming through to talk about what they saw between the Pacers and the Thunder. So I expect that and anything that was happening on the weekend. So we shall see. Take a minute. So anyway, today was kind of interesting. I had a little bit of conversation today, and so appreciate the ones that came through. And I was on for about 40 minutes, more than the majority of the day. Okay. Anyway, we're gonna hit up in the home stretch. So we got on there, got as much as we could today. It's all good though. If anybody comes through, let me know. Send me a message on Facebook or something if you want to go live. If not, I think I'll just call it till tomorrow because I was here for like 40 minutes today. So, what's up? I was just getting ready to roll. Your timing is perfect. I was just about to be out because it got dead up in here. Do you got time to talk or you just coming for a moment? Because if you come to talk, I'm here. If you coming just for, I'm looking forward to the whole series. I think it's great basketball. I think it's a great matchup. The Pacers are the most dangerous team going. The Thunder got the MVP. They got an interesting story. You got storylines left and right. So I think it's great. think it's great. One of the best finals I've seen in years. Very evenly matched teams. They could go either way. I think, like I said before, I'm looking forward to the best teams winning. So we're gonna see. Back in the day, Martina Navratilova, Chris Everett, Martina Hingis to an extent, um, Steffi Graf, much respect for Billie Jean King. The old school. There hasn't really been a lot of women that have been dominant in recent memory. Because once Serena Venus took everything over, they ran it for so long. So, but it's an interesting question though. Who people root for, who they like. So, but yeah. And I've taken the, been watching all of it. So, oh, she was. I rooted for her. In fact, I like that movie King. I liked all that. Oh yeah, Serena was everything. When she got better than Venus, she ran with it. So, I give you that. Oh yeah, she was strong. She didn't back down. Oh yeah, she was bad, bad to the bone. And I say the same thing about. I say I put Serena Williams right there with Barry Bonds and Tiger Woods for his dominance. Had that dominance, and Shaquille O'Neal had that dominance. Had that kind of dominance. So, and Tom Brady too. They were the five. The 20 years ago, I'd have said. Mm-hmm. Derek Jeter too. Mm-hmm. Yep, true that. Yeah, well, you got to believe in yourself. And she was in a sport. Let's keep it 100. It was perceived as a pretty much a white sport. Would cost of money. And she did the thing. They got no choice. I it could go seven. It could go seven. This is the thing, and I'm gonna say this real quick. OKC with the best player, etc., could win, but the Pacers are the most dangerous team. So it's tough to say because this is such a heavyweight fight that it's hard to say who could. OKC wants to finish it up. They got it one game at a time. They got to finish a quarter if they got to do the thing. But if they get hurt or anything funny goes on, the Pacers are gonna scoop it up and be a dangerous squad. Yeah, it's the kind of finals that if there's an injury or something happens, that could be a turning point. But I wouldn't even mind if these teams went to a best of two out of three the next 2 3 years because that's how evenly matched up they are. So I like what I'm seeing. Anyway, Siakam is the best sidekick player you could have. And the truth of the matter is, to answer your question, Chad Hogan got to get tight because Siakam exposes him and keep your eye on Miles Turner. See, the Pacers got the perimeter and they got bodies and they can shoot. That's what OKC got on guard play. But they made a bad mistake by moving up their lineups last week game. Play your game. But yeah, Siakam goes off and Miles Turner goes off. That's a recipe for disaster. It's got to be real careful. Um, Bosch is better, but Siakam is what I call a real second tier Robin. Bosch can do more because he could beat you with more rebounding, blocking, etc., etc. Especially when he was a 2010 man in Toronto. Remember, before he went to Miami, you know. But Siakam is what I call that dude that you'd want him as a sidekick. Like if you put him with the right guard, the right play, he's a strong second guy. He's not a first, but he's a strong second option. And he finally found his lane with the Pacers. That's why it looks so good. That's why I looked at Golden State sideways and crazy. Find any way to get the guy and replace Raymond with. You got to get this guy. So Bosch got the edge there. 67% saying they think Coco. I don't know. That's an interesting poll. Yeah, I told you I'd take Bosch over him, but I do like Huckham a lot. He's a strong second sidekick. Okay. All right. If I don't see any, again, like I said before, come see him. Because they couldn't win nothing. They got rid of his coach. They don't have Kawhi Leonard. They got rid of his coach. They don't have Kawhi Leonard. What and no Van Fleet. What part of those three things you don't quite get? Van Fleet, you see with Houston, Toronto doesn't have Van Fleet. Barnett and Quickly are decent. I like Scotty Barnes, but they're not a championship team, and they don't have an alpha. I told you he's not an alpha. I like Siakam, but you need a Kawhi Leonard, a cat, or someone that can make him look. They don't have that. That's the problem. Or if they did, he'd probably still be there. Yeah, but they never were a threat after him. Remember the year after he left, they got knocked out in the second round. They I think it's Scotty Barnes. They don't really. What I'm trying to say is that I like him, but he's not a first option. That's what I'm getting at. Tyrese Halliburton comes along, and because of the way that's how Siakam is effective. So you put him with a guy who can make and create and be the dude. Then he comes in second place, relaxed, comfortable. He's a beast. But to left to his own devices, he's not that dude. That's what I'm trying to say. That's why when Kawhi went there, he kept him in his place. I believe if Kawhi stays there, they want to win another ring. I do. I believe they had another ring in them. So they got no alpha there now. You don't look at Toronto's. Again, Vince Carter, T Mac. Yeah, they need to make a move. And I know you were big on Jimmy Butler, but that ain't it. They need to go try to get somebody like Giannis, or they need a consistent guard. Buddy Hield ain't it. They gotta get some bench. They got about 3 or 4 parts they need, and they can be a nice maybe one to get to the first round, maybe second, but that's it. They don't have a championship pedigree right there, and they're gonna have a hard time because Steph is getting old, Draymond's old, and they got guys that are pretty much just placement parts on their defense. They don't have, you know, Kerr had the right idea a few years ago, but they didn't have when Jordan Poole didn't come through the right way, they messed around with Kamingas. They gonna probably let him go. Just messed up energy. That's how I look at it. And Kamingas can play, but him and Kerr don't get along, and Kevin Looney just ain't really panned out. So I don't see it unless they can make that one move. And whoever they can nudge, they got to get somebody that can nudge and let Draymond come off the bench and let Butler thrive if he sticks around. They got to have it to thrive. But right now, it looks like he got hurt, but they weren't gonna win. They weren't gonna beat Minnesota. I didn't like the lineup. I know Jimmy Butler. you, look, I seen him in Miami, and I know what you had to have. Hands full with what? How? How you figure? How you figure? Draymond Green is a liability. Okay, and Golden State doesn't have that deep of a bench, and they won 7 games with Houston. I'm not against Golden State. I just don't like. I just don't think they got the depth. They don't have the depth. I like Steph because Steph Curry is the best of the. I take him over LeBron James, but they don't have that thing. You see, they did enough. They were lucky against Houston. If Jalen Green could score 10 points, Houston wins that series. I don't think you understand. This is not 2015, 2016. They're an older team. Jimmy Butler gave them some depth with defense, but he ain't no offensive juggernaut. Buddy Hield is not an offensive juggernaut. They need guys who can score. They're not imposing their will like they once did. Cooking, yeah, but not a championship cook. I'll tell you like this: they may not can get Giannis, but they can get someone like Zion Williams or somebody that gets in shape and can play with their style. They got hope. That's what they need. They need some firepower. They don't have enough firepower. They're not. They're not going to be able to sleepwalk teams because everybody plays like that. Except what Robert Ory is saying is something that he can't fundamentally do right now. Luca is more James Harden than he is going to be Bruce Bowden. It's not going to happen. And in order for him to play better defense, he has to be willing to play more team ball, and that's not going to happen. That's not his style. They're going to want him to get fit and play, but defense is not something you just going to magically. You have to play it in routine, but you have to have cohesiveness. You have to have a teammates and teams. LeBron is done, and they don't have anything else on that team that can play consistency. So they got their work cut out. I disagree, Robert Ory, because Luka Doncic is not coming in a defense oriented era. Where he was, I would be make sense. He's not. Because the thing is that JJ Redick was like, get him in shape. They're on the mindset, if I can outscore you, I can beat you. That's what they're playing as. They're not playing 91-87 games. Jimmy can come back, but he has to probably be the third wheel. And they need a second wheel. I'm gonna disagree with you. Let me address all three of them. Magic may not have been the best defender, but he could beat you. He's the only guy I know could score 2 points and beat you in multiple ways. So change that again. Curry has made himself into a decent defender. He will block a couple shots. He came up big against Memphis. So Shaq was great because he got robbed out of it. He had a chance to be defensive player of the year in 2000. What you talking about? And remember, if you hack a Shaq and you have to, he give up all on offense. He is a force on defense. The only reason why he got things that hurt him was high screen pick and roll. If you took him out to the perimeter, you weren't going inside, but if you brought him out to the front, that's how you got him. Luka's not cut from that club. Luka is more James Harden. He's not that. He ain't Magic Johnson because he got to score 25 plus to beat you. He ain't Steph Curry because he's got to hit a lot of shots to stay in games. He ain't Shaq because he doesn't have any form of dominance. So how you gonna compare it? He's not. He's more James Harden. That's who he's more like. It's more James Harden and what Jalen Brunson does. Guys who wear your butt out before he started to win. Before he started to win. Not during the Phil Jackson era, they didn't say that. Before he had Phil, you could say that to an extent. Not after he had Phil. Not that 2000 to 2004 era, he wasn't gonna say no mess like that. But you had to have a guy who could play Shaq where you would post up and then you'd also have to like shoot outside shots. That's the only reason. Guys weren't going at Shaq with dunks. But if you had outside shots, you could work with him. That's what we was talking about. Oh yeah, because he went against guys who play perimeter. That makes no difference. It does make a difference who your coach and what your style is. Shaq was a different player when he had Phil Jackson. Remember, he went to 4 finals in 5 years with Phil. Think about it. Three straight chips. Think about it. It's a big difference with the coaching and the styling came along. When he had Dale Harris and all that, things didn't quite go as such. They beat them, but he was a different player though. So he didn't have to face them after was it after '99? But who came to LA? So I'm gonna shut this down real quick. Who came to LA? 2003, free agent, and they lost in the finals. But who came to LA? Carl Malone did. So I believe if Phil Jackson had been there, they would have. Did Jerry Sloan with the pick and roll was tough. I'll give you that. But they didn't win the chip. So what's your point? And Carlton Long went to LA and played with Shaq. So what's the point? And Stockton's one of the greatest point guards ever. So beat him in '95. It does count because Jordan was arrogant enough to come back and try to beat him. It does count. Don't tell me it don't count. He was arrogant enough to be out there. See, that's the thing about Jordan apologies. He was out there. Now he went out there. They told him 45 look old. He went and got 23. Yes, it does. He went to the 23 from the Raptors. Yes, it does. He got his pockets picked by Nick Anderson. Yes, it does. He was out there trying to win. And when they hosted Horace Grant off the court, who did the Bulls go and get? Rodman. Who was the real MVP of that finals against the Sonics? Rodman. So don't tell me it didn't count. Because if Jordan doesn't get Rodman, then he don't look so good. And I'm gonna keep it 100. It makes no difference. He came back. They made the playoffs. It was fair game. Got knocked out. You played. You were there. I don't care if you played seven. You played. You made it a point. You thought you could showboat, and you got your pockets took. He came back where he was that fadeaway shot. He came back with that fadeaway shot. That's what he brought back his last foray. But he wasn't in basketball. But it's still he came out to play. I'm not making no excuses. There is no excuses. Don't give me no excuses. He lost. He got to take that L. And he still had Scottie Pippen. So got to take that L. I don't we leaving all these excuses. People got catching more. This ain't Johnny Cock. This ain't no plea bargain table here. So you talking to the wrong person. I don't do please. I'm sorry. No please here. He came out there and played. He lost. Penny was the new upstart. Shaq was the upstart, and he took that L. And he came back and got that behind the next year, and they got Rodman. That was the turning point. They got Rodman. No, he didn't win in 95, 96. I wouldn't say he owned him. Shaq did beat him in that. They beat him in 95, so I wouldn't say I own. He was also a more experienced player. I don't think he beats him when Shaq was 2000 to 2000. No, he didn't make him run to LA. The Magic made him run to LA. Jerry West came there and said, "Look, this town is too small and they'll never do anything for you." That's what happened. He didn't make him run. Shaq didn't see no hope. And Shaq at the time, going to a big market, you were going to attract more people. That's just common sense. But Shaq at the time was more raw bone. He wasn't the guy he became. Jordan couldn't mess with him in 2000 through 2004. I'm going to say it to your face. Four finals in 5 years, a three-peat. And he did what Jordan had just did. So there you go. You give him the right pieces, the right coaches, the right system, you got results. He was like a machine. So there you go. He gave it to him up, but he at the same time he wasn't afraid of him. You up here trying to say you're trying to downplay Shaq to justify stuff, and I don't like that because Shaq did three-peat. You can debate who's better and all that, but still, no, they played better team ball. Larry Brown outcoached Phil Jackson. Chauncey Billups and Rip played the guard. They made Gary Payton look old. They made Derek Fisher look old. Kobe got caught out there dribbling too much. They picked his pockets. Shaq had a good series, but Karl Malone, they look old. And the Pistons had people in the paint. They had the guys off the bench. They got physical with them, and they kept the games pretty tight. And the Lakers just didn't have a lot going on, and it showed. Kobe was horrible in that finals, so that was a no-brainer. Doesn't have to be all stars. Just play good team ball. That's what Larry Brown tried to do when he had the Sixers. He used the same format against the Lakers, except this time it worked 3 years later. That's all. Chauncey was a nightmare for Gary Payton. 8 is behind up. That was the difference in the series right there. He outscored Gary by almost 80 points. 26 and 14 is not quite protective custody. They never stopped Shaquille O'Neal in that series, so I wish you would refrain from that. Did you watch the same series I did? I don't think you did. Karl Malone played pretty good. He actually fitted pretty good in the triangle when they did tore his jersey up. But Slavo Minkadinka was horrible. Kobe was horrible, except for hitting that big shot in game two. He dribbled himself out the series because Tayshaun was his pick in his pockets and he looked like he was half hearted. Of course, he couldn't really focus, but that's on him. Rick Fox looked old. Derek Fisher looked old. They got outplayed. They got outworked. Call it what it is. But if the Lakers had won that final, Shaq would have been the MVP. So stop with the cap. I'm not going for no revisionist trying to downplay. Shaq was the best player on the Lakers teams during all those championship runs when they were in the finals. And Kobe played his worst finals, even worse than against the Pacers. Because he just, aside from hitting a big shot in game two, he really wasn't with it. He was out of sorts. But this Badger and Shaq thing is tiring. And I would have been on him about that, you know. You mentioned the Dallas finals. I give you that. He had definitely lost a step or two. But against the Pistons, he was still doing his thing. They just didn't have nothing to carry him with. Kobe was horrible. And Chauncey Billups ate up Gary Payton. Gary didn't fit the triangle. He tried to post up, and the Pistons were too much. The Pistons was right there with them. It's possession to possession. Sure, it was a nightmare for the Lakers. Well, yeah, they got outplayed. What you want me to say? They got outplayed. That's the bottom line. They got outplayed. Pistons was a bad matchup for them. Phil Jackson got lost. I wouldn't call them construction working guys because those guys went to 6 straight Eastern Conference Finals, 2 straight finals, and they could have beaten the Spurs the next year. So how you gonna say that about them? They played great basketball with Larry Brown as their coach. Chauncey Bills, Rip Hamilton, Ben Wallace, who was a top 10 considered MVP guy. Rasheed Wallace, who was one of the guys who, if he had to put the work in, could have been a great player, was in the very good class. So Sheed is no pushover, and she could play multiple positions inside and out. He just the dude that had he put into being an individual player as opposed to a team guy, could have been your Garnett's, could have been that same argument because she was nobody, no joke. And Tayshaun Prince's defense and could shoot a little bit because he wears out his welcome. He's a great coach for X's and O's, but he can be a bit heavy handed. And, he's one of those guys that you get him for 3 to 5 years and that's it. He wears his welcome out. He's hard on his guards. He can be hard and he wears his welcome out. Yeah, he did great with the Clippers and he did good with the Pacers. That's his steez. That's his whole steez. But he wears you out, and he gets the bit. He's chewy on. He's like he just chews, 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 and you know, guy knows how to coach X's and O's. Is one of the best X's and O's coaches ever, and he gets results. He used the blueprint from Philly with Iverson and Pookie Snow to Chauncey and Rip. The difference was that the Lakers they sagged. They were older and they looked old against the Pistons. They beat them to remember the Philly was in the series the first time. It's just Shaq was tearing everybody behind him and Kobe came up big and D Fish hit shots and Robert Ory. When they beat them with against Detroit, they didn't have anyone else that really helped Kobe out. I mean Shaq out. Shaq didn't get the help from Kobe quite the same. Fish looked old. Rick Fox looked old. Gary Payton got cooked, and the bench was non-existent. So Lindsey Hunter could come in and run off. They were getting ran off the court. That's what happened. He coached the Pacers. And he coached the Knicks. He got fired from the Knicks. He coached both of them. He coached Rick Smits in the Pacers in the 90s. That's before he went to Philadelphia. And before he went to Detroit. And then he coached with the Knicks with Isaiah Thomas and he got fired. Like I said, he's a great X's and O's coach. He's a hard nosed stickler on his guards, you know, and he gets the job done. But he grates on people. That's why you're never gonna see Larry Brown with one tenure for no 15, 20 years. What? What made you react like that? What's up? What made you say that? I go back with Larry. Larry Brown was an ABA coach, and he was a great guard. He played. I don't know anything about his personal life, but I know that following him. So, who could I pick on? It's kind of like how Jimmy Johnson was as a head coach. There's certain coaches they're great, but they grate on you. It's like you can get so much out of them, but you can't make a. They're not gonna be cozy, rosy with you for 15, 20 years. You just get them for a little bit. Yeah, George Carl fits that criteria. He's a less successful version of Larry Brown. Good call. That's exactly. He grates on you. He gets results, but he can be, but it can, and then you're tired of him, and that's why these guys. I'll give you a great example in baseball. Buck Showalter. Buck Showalter is the guy that always missed out. He put the team together. Someone comes behind him, wins it all. Because when he was with Arizona, the Diamondbacks won the ring. Bob Brenly got his ring. Joe Torre got his rings. He runs. He has a tendency to wear himself thin. He did that with the Mets. Mets let him go. Now the Mets are in first place this year. They started playing better last year. Is there certain type of cats? They have intentions, but their demeanor is such a turnoff, and these guys are very sensitive. So cats don't stop playing for them, and it ain't. And that's what happens. And somebody else comes in and gets the hoopla. So that's a good call. And they both were North Carolina guys too. So just thought I'd throw that in. But they were out there welcome. So that happens. I think that kind of be the case with Pat Riley too. Because as a head coach, he can be a bit much. No, I saw him in Atlanta. He was a good manager. You can make a case in the Dodger era, but if he was so overrated, then how come Joe Girardi only got one ring? And how come Joe Girardi went to Philadelphia and was average? And he actually won. He actually did more damage prior to when they had Sheffield, Giambi, Ryde too. So make it make sense because they won in the '90s without all that. So he actually was winning with the Paul O'Neills, the Bernie Williams, the Andy Pettits, and with Jeter, but the Scott Brocious and Chuck Knobloch. So make that make sense. That's not a stacked team. I'm a Yankee fan, so you gonna definitely get chewed up on this one because they didn't stack. They spent money, but they didn't have guys. When they had Canseco when he was like 68, Doc Gooden when he was 67, Daryl Strawberry 65, David Cone who was legit. Rivera was an unknown commodity who was a teaming up with John Wetland. So it's not like they knew Mo Rivera was gonna be that dude. So they did the farm, and they had Tino Martinez. They didn't have guys that people were breaking their neck to get though. Tino, Paul O'Neill, Bernie Williams weren't exactly Chuck Knobloch, Scott Brocious, Joe Girardi wasn't exactly like, oh, we got to go break our necks to get them. Big difference from the spending that Steinbrenner did in the '80s. But the Dave Winfields of the world and Steve Kemps of the world. Come on now, do better. No Ricky Henderson either. Do better. When they did go get Sheffield and they had Giambi and they had A Rod and they lost to Boston, then what happened? And then they didn't win till '09. Then they got Hozaki Matsu, Hozaki. So they went a long time. He wasn't stacked like that. I crack up when people always trying to talk about this. The Yankees chip that won all those chips weren't exactly a team that you'd sit there and go, oh, that they. It wasn't that kind of situation. The '90s teams, the ones that won with Jeters, it wasn't what I considered the stackiest of Yankee teams I've ever seen. Not from a talent perspective, no way. Not where I was blown away. When they won that World Series against Philadelphia, I could make the case that Chad Utley, Ryan Howard, and Jimmy Rosen were more stacked than what the Yankees had. They had won a chip and they lost to the Yankees. So that Dodger team, if you want to say Torrey out there with the Dodgers, I'll give you that. Yeah, man, they had a whole lot of people. All right, that looks like that might be about it for now. I don't see nobody coming through. I did hour and a half today, so 57% saying yes. So pretty laid back day today. See what I don't know what you wrote. I didn't touch nothing. It's a YouTube thing. I got nothing to do with it. I don't know what you said. I didn't delete nothing. What did you say? All I said was the Yankees didn't spend a lot of budget. And I hope they're not calling cap on you on here because I ain't have nothing to do with it. But the Yankees didn't they didn't have anything that was what I would call where you could make that old remark. But just tell me what you said before I go. Well, that's kind of how it goes. If you're a manager, you have a staff. But he was good in Atlanta as a manager. I remember that. And he won with the Yankees. And he was okay with the Dodgers. So he didn't know. It's not like he was some dude that just didn't, being a manager is getting advice from others. You have a team that works up under you, but you still calling the shots. So doesn't make him overrated. He still got 4 rings, and he went to a ton of World Series. So I don't think two people are gonna sit there and And if it was that simple, how come the Yankees ain't done it since? Because Boone, Aaron Boone didn't had situations. Girardi had situations. So explain that away. Joe Girardi had a squad in Philadelphia. Bryce Harper and them. They fire him. They lose in the World Series. Make it make sense. So come on now. It ain't that easy. Hardest thing is in baseball is being a manager of the New York Yankees. And if you win, you look like a genius. But if you lose, you gonna hit the end of it. Okay, I think I will call it a day now. But anyway, appreciate everybody that came through. Thank you. And I'll be back tomorrow. We will talk about the game 2 and have more discussion. So this was cool. Appreciate you coming through. Thanks for all the people that came through today. And stay safe, stay blessed, stay woke, stay free. Catch you. Peace.